The parish of Martindale is on the south side of Ullswater, only accessible by travelling several miles along a road at the side of the lake. In the last video, I looked at the old parish church of St Martin, which sits in the valley beyond the Hawes. In the late 19th century, this small church was in a poor state, and it was decided to build a replacement. The new church is situated on the high point of the road as it climbs from Ullswater, and was built between 1880 and 1882. The architect was John Augustus Corey of Carlisle, and it cost £2,000. This was paid for entirely by two members of the Parkin family, Anthony Parkin of Sharrow Bay and his nephew William Hugh Parkin, who was a county councillor for Westmoreland and High Sheriff of the county in 1881. The new church was consecrated on Friday the 6th of January 1882 by the Bishop of Carlisle. According to different sources, this was either the same day or the day after he consecrated the new church at Watermillock to the other side of the lake. When St Peter's was consecrated, there were awful storms, and that same day the roof of the old church of St Martin collapsed. The furnishings and fittings of St Peter's were all new. At the west end is a large circular font with simple dogtooth carving around the base of the bowl. The furniture is all oak, with rows of standard Victorian bench pews filling the nave. Some have poppy head bench ends. The pulpit stands to the north side on stone steps with an iron railing, and the choir stalls in the chancel, as well as the altar rails, were all carved with similar decoration. There is elaborate panelling in the sanctuary, and, with the reredos behind the altar, is decorated with paint and gilt edging. On the south side of the altar are stone sedilia. The oldest object in the church is a large 17th century chest in an alcove behind the choir stalls on the south side. It was given by the family and friends of Harry Buxton after his death in 1954. A reading desk stands on the south side opposite the pulpit. The windows of this church are narrow lancets, letting in very little light. They are arched and splayed inside. In fact, the two west windows are so heavily splayed that the recesses of these narrow windows take up almost the whole of the west wall. The stained glass is the most impressive feature of the church, but not the glass that was first installed. The east window and the easternmost lancet on the north side still contain the original patterned glass. Very good, but nothing to get too excited about. However, most of the other windows contain glass added in the 1970s, made by Jane Grey of Shropshire. There are no people shown in any of these windows. Instead, they are full of symbolism. On the south side of the chancel is a window to St Cecilia, the patron saint of music, represented here by a collection of instruments. On the north side of the chancel are three windows that celebrate the Silver Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. They include symbols for all four nations of the Union. The window by the pulpit represents the birth of Christ, with the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem at the top. The other two windows on the north side represent the Crucifixion and the Ascension. The imagery they use includes the Lamb of God and the pelican in her piety, and at the top are the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem and the Kingdom of Heaven. The two windows at the west end celebrate all the works of the Lord. There is the moon and the sun, summer and winter, frost and cold, the fowls of the air, all that moves in the water, the green things upon the earth, and much, much more. On the south side are windows to four saints. For St Peter, to whom this new church is dedicated, is the cathedral at Carlisle, and to St. Martin, the dedication of the old church, is his cathedral at Tours. The other two represent St. Ninian and St. Patrick. Again, they use symbols associated with the saints, and at the top are St. Peter's in Rome and the Cathedral of Armagh, where St. Patrick was bishop. The final window, the last one on the south side before the chancel, is a memorial to the loss of HMS Glorious, which was sunk in action in Norwegian waters on the 8th of June 1940. Among those killed was Lieutenant Commander William Hugh Parkin, whose first cousin, twice removed, was the William Hugh Parkin who paid for this church to be built. St. Peter's is well worth a visit, if only for these colourful windows. The building is open every day, and the area is always busy with fellwalkers enjoying the surrounding hills.